Welcome to another road trip video. Today heading south to beautiful Bakersfield, California. Our trip started this morning bright and early. Got up at about 6:30 and left Medford, Oregon, headed through Redding, down the I-5 through Sacramento, switched on to Highway 99 to go through Fresno, and finally the last couple hours to Bakersfield. As I mentioned, I think I got on the road at 6:40 a.m. And when you leave Medford, the first thing you got to do is kind of climb the mountain up toward the pass near the state border, and it's a steady climb. I think Medford's about 1,600 feet elevation, and up at the top here, it's actually the highest point on I-5. It's 4,310 feet for the pass here at Mount Ashland. A lot of the truckers you can see sleep up there after they make to the top of the hill. They take the rest of the night off. And shortly after that, you come down the hill, and next thing you know, you're out of Oregon and into the beautiful state of California. And the first part of California, I love this part right here because the pavement's always different when you cross from state to state because of the construction. But the first thing you hit is the agriculture inspection. They pull you aside and ask you what fruit you have, if any. I didn't have any, so they just waved me through. But those first few miles into California are really beautiful. There's some great rock formations, a ton of mountains and hills, and there's just this wonderful rest stop that rests at the bottom of the hill. It's right here if you pull off. I didn't pull off today, but the Klamath River runs right along it, and there's a beautiful trail. It's just a really, really great spot. And shortly after that, we get our first glimpse of Mount Shasta, which might be the star of today's video. You come around this corner to the Wairika Valley, and the first thing you'll see on the left here is Little Shastina, which is that little point right there. And then, of course, the big one, Mount Shasta, now coming out of the background and into view. And I actually pulled over. There's a great vista location right here at the bottom of this hill to get a shot of the signage. About 11,500 feet higher than us is the point of Mount Shasta in the distance there. And the next about 50 miles, really, all through Wairika and into Weed and into Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta itself just dominates the skyline, and it's really, really wonderful. This is a little circular shot I took of Wairika and Montague in this little valley here. I just think it's such a pretty area. And I envision myself with a small cabin there, enjoying the nature. It'll never happen, but I like to dream. But anyways, the next little bit is pretty much just views of the valley up to Weed, California, and Mount Shasta as the star. So I'm just going to let that go for a little while. As you finally pass Mount Shasta, you drive to the actual town of Mount Shasta, which runs kind of along the western side of the mountain. And you can see it. This is just past Mount Shasta. And from there, you go down into Dunsmuir and some of these kind of small hilly mountain towns, and eventually work your way towards Redding. But unfortunately, one of the things that you see through here, it's coming up right here, is the after effects of the huge fires they had over the last couple of years there in Northern California. And there's not too much of it next to the freeway that's showing it, but it's pretty rough. Finally made it to Lake Shasta, which is just north of Redding, and just a gorgeous, gorgeous lake. There's not a lot of great spots to shoot video of it from as you're moving. Of course, into Redding, had to get my gas, and Redding gas, not cheap. So if you can, go somewhere else, because it was all like $3.79, $3.80. Went to Black Bear Diner for breakfast. If you're in the California Central Valley, there's Black Bear Diners in like every town. It's not great, but it's a serviceable omelet, and it'll get you back on the road. And they all have all the little cute bears, which are kind of fun to see. So from Redding to Sacramento is kind of, I call it the flat part. It's very boring. There's not a lot of vistas. There's not a lot of towns. There's just kind of these big open farming areas, and it's not a great spot for video. There's the exit. I don't know why I took this, but this is the off-ramp to San Francisco on 515 if you want to go that way. But really not a lot interesting between Redding and Sacramento. It's about 160 miles. So a little over 2 hours, and you finally pull into Sacramento, and there was no traffic. It was great. It was right around noon, and nobody was, I mean, literally, that's the most traffic I ran into. From Sacramento, you get on Highway 99 to head down to Fresno and Bakersfield. I didn't shoot a lot of video in this part because it's really just a lot of this. Like, the reason I choose 99 is because you go through towns like Modesto and, you know, Madera and Manteca and all these other towns, but you kind of, the freeway is a little bit bordered off, so you don't see much. You see some of these factories, and of course the best factory that you see is the Halo Oranges, which are about, I think, like 60 miles north of Bakersfield, like near Delano or so. Passed a couple of trains on the way down, and finally, after about 9 hours in the car, made it to Bakersfield this afternoon, and yeah, I take the exit on Merle Haggard Boulevard, or Merle Haggard Drive, which is kind of awesome. And there's not a whole lot to Bakersfield that I saw. I mean, I kind of just went and got checked into my hotel, but I did go to my favorite dinner spot in town, Salty's Barbecue. If you ever get a chance, I think it's on Rosedale Highway. It's really good.
We got tri-tips?
Here's the guy making a tri-tip.
All right.
But, you know, a lot of oil derricks and the little bobbing up and down things you see there. And there's no real pro sports in Bakersfield, but they have gun sports. Big part of Second Amendment sports. So anyways, that was my trip. I'll have more stuff in Bakersfield on the video tomorrow because I'm heading to Las Vegas for a few days. But if you'd be so kind, I always appreciate a thumbs up and a subscribe if you're willing to do it. Hopefully you enjoyed this trip. It was a great day of driving. It was beautiful weather, and Mount Shasta definitely the star of today's video. So everybody have a great day.